What's up? It was a long day. Hey, Mario. So you ready to hear a fun story? How's everybody today? Today it did cool down quite a bit. Today in Oklahoma, I think it was only like 84 degrees was the high today. It rained last night. It was all cloudy this morning. Sun didn't come out till like 2 o'clock, so it was actually fairly decent. Yeah, yeah, this Camaro. All right, 2011. Sorry, just to preface this, guys. How's everybody doing? I think I'm finished with this thing. This morning was just. I mean, I finished with it the other day, but today I went back out to look at one last thing this morning. But oh, this car. So to preface this thing, it's a 2011 Camaro SS 6.2. Theft recovery vehicle purchased by somebody who buys a lot of cars and, you know, tries to save a lot of money. And he bought it as a roller. No motor, no trans. Hey, Ben. Thanks, Alan. It is from hell, this car. And it's the gift it keeps on giving. So, puts a motor, puts a trans in it. Has to put a fuse box in it. Let me start from the beginning. How I'll let you know information in the order chronologically that I was given the information and the answers that I was given. So, I get called about this thing and says, "Hey, got this 2011 Camaro. Guy put a BCM in it. Had his buddy program it. Now the airbag light and the theft light are on, but it starts and runs." I said, "Okay. Most likely it's got like a B1001 or something for the airbag light. It probably just didn't complete the theft learn correctly." My assumption. He goes, "Yeah." So I get out there and he goes, "Yeah, this guy, he buys a lot of cars, you know, tries to save a lot of money. He's got his buddy, it's a tuner, programmed the BCM for him." I said, "Well, he probably didn't do the setup and the configuration and then the theft learn." I said, I don't know why it starts or whatever." So he said, "Well, I don't know." But so I go to program it. I reprogram the BCM just because. And then I have no idea what happened when this tuner guy did. I don't know if he did it with SPS or what he did it with. Anyways, I program it, do the configuration, do the setup, do the immobilizer learn. Attempt to do the immobilizer learn, and it gives me an error, and it says incorrect code in PCM. And it gives me the theft code for the car, 6914, which is weird because GM doesn't normally use the PIN code for anything, right? And that's a Global A vehicle. And I said, "Man, did he put a used module in this thing?" He calls the guy. The guy said, "No, I didn't put any used modules. Just did the BCM, and then when it wouldn't start, then my buddy programmed the theft out of the PCM." I said, "Well, unless he can put it back in, we can't continue." It's like, okay, well, that's weird, is what the guy says. So he calls his tuner. His tuner says, "No, I just deleted all the info." I said, "Great, now you get to buy a PCM." And then I don't know what it did because now it has environmental identifier codes in it. And that's usually like a B3902, and that's what happens when you get used modules. There's like an environmental identifier number assigned to the body control module, and then when you cycle the key on, all the other modules check that environmental identifier, and if it's not the same one that they have learned, then they set code saying, "Hey, we've got a used module with the wrong identifier." So, for instance, let's just say the environmental identifier is 10, and I have no idea what the numbers is. It could be 30 numbers. I don't know. I'm just going to use this as an example. So, let's say the car's environmental identifier is 10. At this point, this BCM just reached out to the PCM to learn an environmental identifier, and apparently something else said, "No, it's not right." So, anyways, he gets a PCM in. I program the PCM. Then I go to do the theft learn with PCM and BCM replaced, because when you go to do an immobilizer learn, it asks you what was replaced. Like on older ones, it would say, did you replace the PCM or the PK3 module, the vehicle theft alert module, or are you just adding keys, or what happened? So on this one, there's like 6 options. There's the body control module is replaced using existing keys and existing theft module. The body control module was replaced using new keys or new theft module. The PCM and the BCM is replaced, and it says replace keys. There's no option for using the same keys. So I said, hey, this key looks brand new. It's a flip key, you know. It's like, what happened? He's like, well, I got a brand new key too because we couldn't learn the theft. So I have Buddy got a key. I said, do you have the original one? He said, no. Buddy said it wasn't going to be any good anyways for the way, and I told him, you know, hey, I could version those back to original, but whatever, it's gone now. If this one's not been programmed to the car ever, then technically we have a new key, so we're good to go. If not, we're going to have to do a new key. He said, okay, just whatever it takes. So, now this is the second trip out there that I get this code. Well, I go to program both PCM and BCM with new keys, because it's the only option there is with new keys. When you read the service information, it tells you must replace the keys. Really, you just need to have unlearned keys, virginized keys. So, I go to do that, and it gives me the same error for the instrument panel cluster. So, I'm like, well, what the heck? So I call him and talk to him, and he's like, no, we just replaced the PCM, or the BCM, and then when it wouldn't program, then we did the PCM like you told me, and now that's where we're at. So the guy says, well, I said, well, here's the problem. If you erased the theft data out of the PCM, when I did the BCM replaced only, and it did the entire process, but then I got to the very end and gave me this error, I said it's highly probable that it reached out to the PCM and got some, you know, environmental identifier Q watermelon. I don't know what the number was. I said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I'm not sure the series of events that happens when you delete immobilizer out of the PCM, what happens to the BCM when you try to do a learn. So basically it comes to the conclusion that maybe we should try warranting the body control module out for a new one. So okay. So we warranty out the body control module. So I go back to do it again. This is like, you know, trip number 3. This guy's in it, right? So I go to program again, have the same problem with the instrument panel cluster. I have the same code. When I go to do both replaced, immediately gives me an error. It says IPC, wrong identifier, blah, blah. And you can't look up identifier even with GDS2 tool. These are global A vehicles using the GDS2. It doesn't use the Tech 2. So looking in GDS2, I can't find any environmental identifier info. There's nothing that tells me this. Looking at all this stuff, I start looking at the calibration of the numbers. Well, so I can't find anything, so I call help desk. Help desk says car is salvage title, blah blah blah, can't help you. Which is the second time. This is the first time I heard this month, but second time I've heard that twice this month from GM that it's got a branded title and it's warranty locked, so they won't help you. Well, this one they said branded title, so they wouldn't help. The last one was an 18 with 5,000 miles, and it was branded and warranty locked because even though the mileage was under there, they no longer service the warranty because the title was salvaged. That's going to be another car story on its own. Anyways, the Camaro. So, start talking to the guy. I say, so tell me exactly what happened. He's like, well, I bought it and did the BCM. I said, no. You bought it with no engine, no trans. What did you have to buy for this car? So, I talked to him, and then I'm on the phone with AC Delco help desk, and they're like, well, we can't help you. They said, but you should be able to just reprogram all the modules to have the B3902 and be good. So I give it to the customer and tell them, AC Delco help desk says this. Now I got to program HVAC control module, SRS module, instrument panel cluster, PCM, and BCM are the 5 modules that have this B3902 code. So I go to program those. I program all of them, right? And the instrument cluster, when I did reprogram only because I normally do replace and program, but I wanted to check something. So I did reprogram only. And when I get there, it won't let me reprogram the cluster because it says the file's not found in this version of Test2Web. They may be newer than whatever. So basically, the instrument cluster had a bunch of wrong calibrations in it. So I call him and say, hey, did you have to put a cluster in this? And he goes, yeah, we put a cluster in it. I said, you know that's a module, right? He goes, yeah. I said, where did you get it from? He said, well, I got it from LKQ. And like immediately I have this like, oh man, dude, we told you this. He goes, well, I didn't think the cluster would matter that much. I'm like, dude, we told you from the start, you cannot put a used module in a Global A vehicle. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. Sometimes you're okay. Most of the time, it's a total crapshoot, right? I mean, it can be done. You can do EEPROM. You can do all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's impossible. And I know of cases, and I've been there for times that people have just swapped them, programmed in, no problem. But in this case, this Global A vehicle was fighting us. So, we get an instrument panel cluster. We put it in. I program it. Now I'm able to do the immobilizer learn. So I get the immobilizer learn done. Find out we gotta have 2 keys. Whatever reason this car, you gotta have 2 keys or it's stuck with a B3031. That's become a new thing with GM. That I've found that recently quite a few late model vehicles required 2 keys, otherwise they were stuck in learn mode, where the theft light would stay on, but the car would start and run and drive, but they had a B3031. So, get all that done, and the airbag light's still on. I look, it's got a front impact sensor code and a configuration error code, along with some other module corrupt error like P0 or B0, B21 something, I don't remember. Anyways, module corrupt. I'm like, okay, so I check powers and grounds to this thing. It's right on the steering, it's right on the console, but there's a side access if you move the seat. Talk to the customer, he's like, yeah, I got it, but it was used also. I'm like, come on, man. We told you about this. So we find out it's used also, but it's not setting environmental identifier codes, everything programmed, whatever, but it's actually the wrong hardware part number. And it's calling for like these side impact sensors, and it's calling for another secondary stage airbag, something the car didn't have, like wasn't built with. So I'm like, oh dude, come on. So we get the right one from the dealer and program it, and now all those go away, except for it gives us the configuration error again and the front impact sensor code, but not all the other ones. And then we start looking, I'm like, okay, so it's giving a code for the left front impact sensor. So I swapped the sensors because it takes 2 minutes. And nothing, still gives a left front impact sensor code. So I pull up the wiring diagram and look, and the colors are the wrong color of wires at that sensor. I'm like, oh man, maybe he plugged in a side impact instead of front impact. Go through this whole thing, trace the wires down, get halfway down, find the wires have been cut and spliced. If you bought a harness that was like 2 foot long for another car, so it's down in front of the radiator, where I couldn't see it. So I get down there, and I find the wires have been cut and spliced, so I check the splice, and they're good on either end, but they swapped the wires. So we got a circuit open on this impact sensor because they're going to the wrong side. So cut, solder, heat shrink this connection instead of the stupid crimp and splice built on. Get it done, code goes away. Cool. They take it, drive it down the road. This is over the time. This is like 4 or 5 stops I was at this thing. There's hours of diag in between each one of these times. There's times where I was up at night looking at all the service info, trying to find out what I did wrong with the environmental identifier codes before we found all this out. So this dude's in this like a bunch of money in labor. Like, I got a bunch of time in this. Like, he's paid a lot of money to get this far. So the shop goes and drives it, and he's like, dude, the stability track came on, all this other stuff. I'm going to check it out and let you know. I said, okay. So he calls me, he goes, I have an open in the steering angle sensor. So he gets the steering angle sensor, puts it in. He's got an Autel, so he goes ahead and does the steering angle reset, gets it done. Calls me back and go, now I got some other codes for this, I got an open, blah, 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 all that stuff. So today I go out there, and GM sent him the wrong pins. So he depins this connector, he's ready to put a new wire in because it broke off right at the pin, and they sent him the wrong ones. So that's where this car is at. That's how far this car has been out of commission for like a month now between all this stuff. It has been ridiculous. Hey, Corey. Hey, Ralph. Anyways, I thought I would just sit here and vent and let you guys know about all the crap. And then I have another story on an 18 Yukon that is not done yet, and it is even worse. It is all of the things wrong. I bought a brand new 2018 Yukon Denali with 5,000 miles at the auction, and it was totaled, and I used my budget guy to fix it all, and he did a whole bunch of stuff wrong, and I guess I need more than a code clear. Because this Yukon started as, hey, can you come clear the codes? The guy I normally use's computer doesn't go past 2016. So that's what he's dealing with. This dude's learning that 18 Yukon Denali's have a lot more stuff on them than what he thought, and it takes a lot more to complete the repair than what he was expecting. So, yeah. When that thing gets finished here in a couple days, then it's going to be a little story on Diagnostic Network about it. Probably going to chat with a few people about it. But anyways, it's crazy. Corey, you're stuck in a vehicle? Oh, I know, Mario. It's just been hellacious. This car has fought me from the get-go. I think there was some stuff I forgot that was hurdles too, but it was just ridiculous. Like, I didn't know how to explain to the guy how messed up he made this versus what it would have been like if he would have just done it right the first time. It was crazy. But I hadn't talked to you guys in a while, so I thought I'd get on here and hang out for a bit before I go and do the training over on the website. We're doing the Part 7 Advanced Application of Fundamental Electrical Theory over on the website. That's today's Part 7 of that. We got quite a few of the other classes down. Man, got over 30 hours of content on the website now. I got a few new tools that I'm doing some stuff for. I'm doing doing a review of the Autel Maxi Check, which I lost some of the footage on, so I got to refilm some, which sucks because this tool is already won by somebody. It's already their tool. I'm doing a review of this little PC microscope. It's USB. It's got this sweet little stand on it. Does a really good job. Sits in there like this. It's good for doing circuit board repairs. USB's over your computer. You can see it on a nice big high-res monitor. It's got pretty good lighting in it. A little rechargeable battery. I've got to do a review on, what was the other stuff? Oh, one of those companies sent me those heat shrink non-crimp connectors. Those little things. They sent me a ton of them to use. I'm going to use them a couple times, see what's up. I got the Autologic Drive Pro. That I can't wait to do a review on. That was a tool that was an investment, and can't wait to do that. So I got quite a bit of stuff going on right now. So I was talking to a friend of mine who just started working at a body shop in the front office around here, and this body shop doesn't use me. They use Aztec. So I asked him if he had a good guy or not, and he's like, yeah, it's somebody different every time. I don't know. Ben says, my issue is, how the hell do you charge for all that? So, I won't give you the dollar amount, but I can tell you if I perform a flash, it's going to be $150. If I do an additional module during that flash event, like directly after while I'm still hooked up, it's $50 for each additional module, and that's on that particular vehicle. I can tell you that diag is from $80 to $150 an hour, depending upon what kind of tools I have to use, and if I'm using factory tools and scopes to trace down wiring, or I'm tearing stuff apart, then it's $150 an hour. I can tell you the total bill in this car was very close to $1,000. Very, very close. And that was to do all that. So how do you charge for it? You charge for it. It's not my fault the customer didn't tell me all the answers. It's not my fault he didn't follow instructions when he called ahead of time and asked about modules. When that shop told him, do not use modules in it, this shop knows what's going on. This shop's pretty intelligent. They do good work. They usually only call me for module programming. They don't hardly ever call me for diagnosis. And this particular one, somebody else had installed the module and called for it, and it went to them for them to have me program it. So it was it's interesting. It is difficult. Yes, it's difficult to write that bill and hand it to a shop that you have a good rapport with, knowing that that's one car, one charge that's got to get marked up to a customer. But if you have a good rapport with the shop and you're keeping communication with them and you're documenting everything you're doing, I mean, this was like 3 pages long, the documentation on this, of each step when we found information, dates and times, what we were told, responses to our questions, that kind of stuff. When you get all done, you write it all up, you go, wow, that seems too cheap. Because as you start to do it, you start going, oh, well, I give them a little break here, give them a little break there. I guess it was really only 2 hours and 25 minutes. So I was billing for just 2 hours. This and that. It's a lot. It adds up to a lot. That's right. I didn't own it. I didn't buy it, build it, or break it. I'm just here to fix it. Mario says, do you prefer flash calls over diag calls, or are you up for either equally? So I still enjoy doing quite a bit of diagnosis, but it does take more time. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I run into a few diagnoses. Depending upon the shop, I'm getting more and more calls for very difficult things that other people have already, a bunch of shops have already messed with. I believe that in order for me to keep up with that and spend any more time on it, I have to either start charging when I go over an hour of time, or I have to increase the flat rate bill for a diagnosis. Currently, I kind of flat rate bill just because I haven't had any of them that really take me much longer than an hour. But the ones that do, I all kind of chalk up to a learning experience. But I'm finding that most of them are not my fault. It's a lack of information that I'm being given, or lack of the whole story. I'm on the fence. As I'm growing, getting more and more calls for keys and programming, I'm finding that I would like to not do as many diagnosis calls, mainly because I get dirty too, and I'm not tooled for tearing stuff apart. So, Casey Auto Doctor says a dealer would not even touch that rebuilt wreck. Too much liability, and like he said, GM would not even provide warranty coverage since it's a branded title vehicle. That's correct. This Camaro was not under warranty because it was too old, but that Yukon I'm working on would normally be under warranty. It has 5,400 miles. It's a 2018 Yukon Denali, so yeah. Hey, Bill. Corey says, fixing your vehicle requires time, knowledge, experience, and tools, and I charge for all four. Agreed. Yeah, I find that I'm probably cheaper than what I should be, but I'm more expensive than most on like diagnosis and such. I did an RV today. I diagnosed a crank nose start on an RV today. My joke was it's how I keep myself on my toes, by not having proper service information, having to just figure it out. How do you manage a diary for diagnostic work? No way of knowing how long the job will be. Right. I try to time in and time out what I'm doing when I show up to calls. I'm using my GPS to go to every spot. I use a thing called a Harman Spark. It's a device that I know. Listen, before I say this, I know. Plugs into the DLC port on your car. I know, okay? I know. Anyways, it gives me my wireless access point. It also GPS tracks the vehicle and monitors battery voltage and idle time and all that stuff. But I know. It plugs in the DLC. Alright, I know. Regardless, I'm able to see where I get to each stop so I can log this and pay attention to it. I'm able to tell because I don't waste a lot of time. Once I get there, I'm on the car. Yeah, I do get a couple. See you, Mario. I do get a couple weird ones every once in a while where I get there and I look at the vehicle and I gotta go to my van and go pull up service information, look at wiring diagrams, quickly build a process, and where the shop's in there banging on the door going, dude, are you gonna work on this thing or what? Because they just don't get the process, and that's why I'm there. But yeah, there's some stuff like that, but I do try to keep records of everything that's repaired. So if I encounter a similar vehicle again, I can go back and look and go, I checked for 5-volt ref on this circuit, which is this pin for this connector located here, that's this color wire, and I got this, and when I didn't find it, I found it here, so I had to, I keep a pretty good record, so if I run into something or somebody asks me about something, I go, well, let me check, and then I can look up year, make, model. I save the file as I save the invoice, which has all this info. The invoice has the diagnostic info in it on the pages. Like the one I print is just got line item, but then sheet 2 of the Excel has all my notes, and I save it as the date. So like today's stuff was saved as 07/22/2019 space the invoice number space the customer, XYZ Auto space, and then year, make, model, engine, and then if there were DTCs, I tagged those on there. But I can search all these Excel files. Within the Excel files, I can type in P0301, in the folder, and it'll look through and find all the things that have a P0301 in it. And I can go, oh, there's the Cadillac, or I can type in, GM or whatever. So I keep it that way. I do the Excel sheet with an invoice, and then page 2 is diagnostic diary, basically like you were saying, keeping all the information, and that way I can search it later. But all right, ladies and gents, I got to get off here. I'm going to go over to the website to teach the part 7 of the advanced application of fundamental electrical theory. So that's what we're going to do. Yes, Bill, I pull a full vehicle scan report for every single vehicle I touch before I touch it when I'm done. I usually do it with the launch tool because it's really fast. Save it as a PDF. I can flash print it right there. Keep it on that. I can offload and email it to myself. I can upload it to the Google Drive. So it's really easy to just pull a scan every time. You got, kind of saves your butt. CYA, cover your assets. But yes, I would love to stay and talk more about that, but I do have to go because it is already 6, and I'm supposed to be over there teaching that now. So for those of you guys that are there, we'll see you on the other side. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like to check it out, go to www.l1training.com. I think it's up here somewhere. I think I have it imprinted on the top. And you can join the training. It's a podcast similar to this, but we do an hour of training at least twice a month, usually 2 to 4 times, and every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We cover another bit of information, so we're growing our library every single day and every single week of content on the website. So check it out. See you there.